All right, well, welcome. My name is Reverend Tandy Rogers, and I serve the UUA. I serve you as your growth strategist in the growth office, alongside Stephen Jonason. And I have a foot in congregational life because I never wanted to leave. That's where the frontline growth experts are. A new day dawned when Scott Taylor joined the Congregational Life staff team and insisted on alignment and a high vision, and kind of fanned our inner flames that we carry with us. And part of the agenda that I am so excited about, he started talking about multi-sites as a growth initiative. And I said, I want in on that. Is there any way I can come over to Congregational Life staff again? Please, I'll do anything. And so I now get to work alongside Scott in the multi-site initiative. I would like to introduce to you your midwifing team. We've been affectionately calling it the multi-site midwifing team. These are your frontline growth experts out in the field, in the regions, who are fanning the flames and being the collaborators and coaches for the multi-sites. So if I could please have, I haven't had coffee, okay, enough coffee, so I got my little notes. Ken Brown, who's not with us today, he's with family right now, is in the Pacific Western region. I'm going to ask people to stand. In the New England region, we have Joe Sullivan and Karen Bellavance-Grace. In the Mid-America region, we have Dory Davenport. We have in the Central East regional group, we have Mark Bernstein and Joan Van Biesler. Yay. In the Southern region, we have Ken Hurto and Carlton Elliott Smith. All right. So imagine, if you will, is 2064, 50 years from now. And at our General Assembly, we are celebrating with great gratitude this burst of growth that started in 2014, when the tides turned and a refreshed imagination of our polity came into effect, a refreshed imagination of interdependence, creative collaboration, a commitment to sustainability as a way toward mutual accountability. When models of multi-site, models of one church, many locations popped up in the imaginations of staff, in the imagination of key volunteers, in the imagination of congregations trying to burst forth and wanting to do it with strong partners. Models of learning together, of surrendering, knowing the one right way, but learning from each other the many, many ways of being a Unitarian Universalist and many ways to organize ourselves. Also part of this turning, really more than a part, the actual fuel, the core, these multi-site models, these new ways of organizing fueled by a religious fervor, a religious imperative to show up together in a new way that amplifies our goodness, allows us to co-conspire with the ultimate goodness of the universe, amplifies our impact and amplifies our love. And let the story begin. Reverend Daniel O'Connell.
Good morning. You are going to hear a variety of models about how to do multi-site from our panel here. I'm just going to give you my personal experience with the version that we've done in Houston, Texas, which is where I'm from. You're going to hear other models, so you may hear things you like, you don't like about each of the models. That's good. Just try and keep your mind open, if possible. So there was this town in the United States, and it was a big city, and it had a First Unitarian Church, and it's been there for over 100 years. Maybe this sounds familiar to you. 17 years ago, there were some people who said, it's too far to drive down to First Church. There's a number of us here. Why don't we start something here? And guess what? Boom! They started a UU congregation. And there were several of these that were outlying in the suburbs. And they Some of them had been UUs before, some of them had been not, but they were very excited about starting a brand new liberal religious community. They were very excited about doing social justice together in their community. They were very excited to bring their children together because their children were getting proselytized by right-wing evangelicals. And finally, they could bring UU values to their children. They could develop their own faith formation. This was really exciting, and they had two big dreams: to find a building they could call their own and to have their own minister. And for 16 years, they worked, they invited all their friends, they poured in their sweat, their money, their time, their talent, their treasure. They did all the work that many of you have done in your congregations. And still, that prize was always just out of reach. The closer they seemed to get it, the further away it was. They were caught in the catch-22 that almost all small congregations face. They do not have the resources to grow to the size where they can afford those resources. Meanwhile, the minister at First Unitarian Universalist Church in the big city, he's got staff, she's got staff, they've got money. Those staff are being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to produce content, and it stays right there at First Unitarian Universalist Church. Meanwhile, these other congregations are saying, if we just try harder, if we just go to another General Assembly workshop, we could have a minister like that, we could have a building like that, and it doesn't happen. In our case, what happened is that one congregation, one of the satellite congregations, lost half their membership in a year because there was mold in their building and their quarter-time minister left. The other congregation lost half their members over 4 years through no fault of their own, but similar kinds of circumstances. So they were desperate enough to do something that, if you're going to follow the model I'm talking about, you would have to do. It all boils down, the central question is, if you're the joining church, and the big church is the adopting church, are you willing to give up control? And I mean completely, over finances, worship, everything. Are you willing to give up control in order to possibly achieve a level of success that has always eluded you? That's what's at stake. These two congregations that we merged with, they dissolved their charter and they joined us en masse. We are one church in 3 locations. And the creative interchange, the stuff that has happened is just absolutely incredible. So what's the advantage to the joining church if you're in that situation? Well, number one, you have an outside investment. You have a larger group who are committed to not only you surviving, but to you thriving. You get to research the senior minister. I guarantee you those people at the satellites went through and saw my sermon videos. They talked to people in my church. They had far more access to who their senior minister was going to be than the average person in a church that's got a search committee. The average person's like, okay, we brought this person in and you get to vote yes or no. These people got to do all kinds of research. The big thing, though, is that the worship changed dramatically. At the small church, instead of the pulpit being a revolving door and you get some speakers who are, so-so, and frankly, all the members of the smaller group had given all their talks. It had been 17 years, and so they were kind of talked out, right? So you have coherent worship, you have cohesive worship, and you have inspirational worship pretty much every Sunday because, frankly, that's what the standard is at the larger church. Now, what's the benefits for the adopting church? What was the benefit for me? My church is not paying for me to go merge with smaller congregations. What happens is that we get to grow Unitarian Universalism in our metro area. And there are people who actually live closer to the satellites who come to my church because of the resources. But once we merged, the attendance, the membership actually went up a little bit at the smaller one. So it's really a win-win situation. There's new ideas, new talent. The smaller congregations were using screens and technology because they had to. At the larger church, we didn't need to do that. They had music talent that we did not have at the large church. We were able to move choirs around. All kinds of creative interchange happened because of this. It was a huge, huge benefit to us. And also, we were able to do social justice in a new way. All the congregations in Houston now are coming together in a project called UU Voice for Justice And that probably wouldn't have happened. Oh, there's my little timer. That probably would not have happened had we not done this model. So the thought I want to leave you with is, if you've been struggling for years, and you're smart people, right? And you haven't been able to break through, and there's another well-off, well-resourced congregation, it might be willing to consider the question of how serious you are about growing Unitarian Universalism. And the bottom line question in this model is, are you willing to give up control? Why have 3 different bookkeepers use 3 different ideas about how to collect money, save money, and spend money? Why not have, oh, look, they've got a professional bookkeeper who's been doing it for 20 years. The possibilities are just amazing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it. I'm especially excited to learn about the other models that we have here today. I think you're going to be able to pick up something new in your own way of thinking. And so thank you for being here.